Howdy, guys, and welcome back to the Basketball Fix podcast. Now, in today's episode, we are continuing on with our one-on-ones, and I've got a very special guest now, Perth Wildcats import forward, Todd Withers. Todd, welcome to the show, mate, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Now, I'm looking forward to this, mate. It's awesome. I think we spoke and we met a couple of months back at a Perth Heat game, out of all places, at a baseball game over here in Perth, and you had everyone flocking you, trying to get photos and everything like that. And I thought, I'll wait until everyone cools down and try and catch you on the way out. And just caught you, mate. And then I've seen you at a couple of Wildcats game, mate. So I'm really, really looking forward to our chat today and getting stuck in and learning a little bit more about Todd Withers. We see the guy on the court. You know, I've seen you a little bit off court, but I want to get to know you a lot more as well, mate, because a lot of Perth Wildcat fans are a massive fan of yourself. And they sort of want to know what's going on potentially next year, which we'll touch on a little bit later down the track as well, mate.
Yep.
But let's go right back to the start, mate. Where did you grow up? What did you get up to? And what sort of sports did you play?
I'm originally from Greensboro, North Carolina. I was born in Louisville, Kentucky, but raised in Greensboro, North Carolina. And honestly, I started playing basketball really late. My first sport was baseball, football, stuff like that. So didn't start playing basketball till I was like in my later years in high school. And then, kind of took off from there.
Yeah, definitely, mate. It's definitely taken off from there. And I want to go to your family life a little bit as well, if we can, just to sort of digress a little bit from sport. But I believe you were brought up by a single mother with three
Yep.
children. And that would be absolutely challenging to a certain degree, obviously, for your mum with three kids who are probably all playing sport and just having fun and all that sort of stuff growing up in North Carolina. What was that like, mate? Because it's something that is not that common, essentially. You know, a lot of people, hopefully, in those happy families, as we all call them, and everything like that. But, single mum would have been a very tough thing for your mother.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was a lot of stress on her. Especially when I was young, I guess you kind of take it for granted, like how lucky you are to have somebody in your corner like that. So, my mom is like, a crucial piece to what made me be who I am today. So, definitely a shout out to her. So, but at the end of the day, she sacrificed a whole bunch to make sure that me and my siblings were all good. And, a lot of times when we couldn't afford things, she made it happen. You know what I'm saying? So, she gave up her life and her, like, pretty much her childhood or, her younger teenage years and all that stuff to take care of us. So, at some stage, I want to be able to give her everything that she wants in life. So that's what I'm trying to work towards now.
Yeah, no, definitely, mate. Massive shout out to mum there as well, I think, and a massive shout out to all mums. They all play such a pivotal role, and I think they play such a pivotal role in young men's, sort of development
Definitely.
as well. You learn that nurture and that nature sort of mentality and everything as well. But yeah, massive shout out to mums there as well. Now, you spoke about those three sports, and I think, looking from an Australian perspective, they are the three big sports, I guess you could say, in America. You've got American football, you've got your baseball and your basketball. Now, obviously, you've gone down the professional route with basketball, which we'll touch on very, very shortly. But did you want to sort of go down the football or baseball path, more than basketball growing up? Or was it always sort of the basketball was the one that you were the best at?
I love baseball. Baseball is my number one sport. I truly enjoyed it, man. Like, I started playing basketball just because I got tall and got pressured in from some of my friends and some of the high school coaches. Like, so that made a big thing. But outside of that, like, baseball was my one love for sure. I love.
Do you still have a bit of a hit every now and then, or is it sort of?
Oh yeah, I went down to what's it, Bat Haven or no the Bat Cave or something like that.
Yeah.
The little batting cages out here in Perth, and I went out there and hit a little bit. So I still feel like I got it a little bit, but definitely rusty.
No, definitely. I think we might have to make a call to the Perth Heat potentially, mate, and have a bit of a hit there. But it makes sense why I saw you down at the baseball. That's out of all spots, it obviously now makes sense as well. But let's get into sort of your high school life. Now, you spoke about being pressured and sort of all those conversations starting to get stuck into basketball and all that sort of stuff as well. What was your whole high school experience like when we are touching on basketball? Was it a bit of a learning curve? What was some of the biggest lessons that you learned? What was some of the best experience out of basketball?
It was definitely a big learning curve. Like, because I was so far behind, like still trying to learn everything. And even to today, like, I still feel like I'm so far behind. I need to learn and do more. But in high school, like, it was kind of like almost like a shock how, like, how good players were and how good guys were. And like my high school coach kept it really simple. He tell me, "Hey, I'm gonna put you in the front of this press, guard this guy, and don't let him score." And I just ran out there like a chicken with his head cut off. You know what I'm saying? But then I got a chance to, like, get seen by some college coaches who gave me an opportunity and gave me a chance, and they helped me build to be the player that I ended up being.
No, definitely. When we go into that college career as well, it was a pretty successful college career for yourself personally, mate. Now,
Yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong, but it's Queen's University. It was a bit of a weird one for me when I was sort of
yeah,
having a bit of a look at it, because universities, it doesn't really normally go with America. It's always college this and college that. But over
hmm
here, obviously, that's our university. But you spent 4 years there, mate. Now, we'll get into sort of, that sort of season by season or year by year breakdown very shortly. But what was the adjustment like from the high school hoops, where you spent a couple of years there, to the college world? Because it's a massive jump in a lot of different levels.
Uh, it was really hard, if I'm be honest. Especially because a lot of people don't know, like, division doesn't really matter too much. Like, it's high level basketball all across the world. Um, so in my head, just like probably any other, like, young kid, I was like, oh, I'm going to D2. It's gonna be easy. Blah blah blah. Shouldn't be too hard. And for my first ever training, I threw up 3 times. So it's like it makes you grow up. I'll say that. Like, college really makes you grow up. It starts the road to really building you as a person, especially as for like young men. It starts you on building that process of being like a young man. So my college coaches were no joke as well. So they were really on me about trying to make me better. A lot of times they was like, if I failed, then you know it's kind of like a knock on my mom if I fail. So they really pushed me, especially with coming from a single home. So, I just wanted to make her proud. Wanted to do something for myself as well. So, and my college coaches, man, they were amazing. I think they, like, I tell everybody, like, my college coaches saved my life.
No, that's awesome, mate. And I think, from afar, mate, obviously, I don't know you too well. Obviously, we've had a couple of conversations here, but I think I can guarantee, say, that you made your mum proud, and you've made yourself proud, obviously, with your time in your college basketball, and obviously what you've done on from there. So I'm looking forward to touching on that very shortly. But your 4 years at college were really good. You averaged between that sort of 10 points per game and 13 and a
Mhm.
half points per game. The 6 to 8 rebounds as well, just over 1 block in pretty much all of your seasons. Statistically wise, was really, really good across the board. But what do you think was your most successful season on the court? Obviously your senior year, you got the accolades and you had the really good averages and a really good team success. But it might have been earlier where you started to pick up some of these really good habits that you've probably developed as the years have gone on.
Yeah, I had I'll probably say my junior year, sophomore, like the sophomore summer going into my junior year is when I really was like, oh, like, I really give this a go. Like, because my thought process was like, go to college, get away from what you live in back home and stuff like that, and not necessarily do anything with basketball, but just go. And I had some really, really good guys ahead of me, like senior guys who were just amazing and really good mentors to me. Like, had guys like Marquise Rankin, Garrett Hendricks, Daniel Camps, um, Rob Lewis, plenty of guys who, like, stepped up and, like, kind of made me toughen up and be grateful for the opportunity that I was getting. So having them in front of me and then seeing what they do, like the extra practices or the extra shots, or uh, even maybe eating differently, what I'm saying? I think that was the big change for me. And then when I was able to put weight on and was able to hold my, like, hold myself in a game and not get bullied around and stuff like that, that's when I was like, all right, like now I feel like I can play with guys.
No, definitely. And you talked about obviously that development from your sophomore year to your junior year, and you averaged 10.4 points and 6.1 rebounds in your sophomore year, and that went up to 13.6 points per game, 7 rebounds, and just over 1 block per game. So you start to see that sort of success on the court, and I guarantee you, like you sort of mentioned as well, you started seeing it off the court as well. But I want to touch on the senior year a little bit more in particular. Now, you guys as a team, led by you essentially, 32-4 was the record for the entire season as well. Now, we'll break this into two parts here. I want to touch on obviously the team success, but before we jump into answering that question, you had some real good personal success as well. So you're in the first team All SAC, and also were a all-state selection player as well for Division Two basketball. So firstly, what was the team success like? Because it was a really, really good year for you and the whole team. And then obviously the personal success. What does that mean to you as well?
As a team wise, we were just really, really close. Everybody on the team had the same common goal. Like, I had the senior groups, and then we had young guys who came on and who really wanted to be a part of that winning culture. And credit to our coaches as well, like Art Lundy and Grant Leonard and the guys that we had around us, like really, really like helped us build that culture, I guess you can say. So like I had guys who I started with in my junior year, finished my senior year with me. So having all those guys return like kind of made it easier. But I think we were really hungry because junior year didn't go the way we wanted to. And then senior year, we got another crack at it, and we was like, nah, we're not going to let it go this way this time. So I think our team success was really built on like having those familiar faces, having those familiar habits, and then also having the same coaching staff. And, they just won't let you slip. Let's just say that was a big thing that my college coach used to say, we're not going to let you slip through the cracks. So I think that was like the biggest thing for us.
Yeah, I think it's really important because, like, I guess when you sort of touch on some of those things, and I know they're phrases that we've sort of all heard from time to time, but I think it really nails home the importance of just doing the basics right. And it's that's what sport is. It's not about, you know, playing crazy sport. Like you can play the most basic style of basketball and you can win games because you defend hard and you play hard and you're a team. And that's the most important thing that I feel like you sort of mentioned there as well. And it would be a massive lesson as well. Now, as a player at that particular point in your life, did you believe you were a really strong leader and did you show good leadership qualities, especially as a senior for all these young guys coming through? And what sort of basketball player would you describe yourself as a young guy?
I probably say like I wasn't really like the most outspoken person, but I think everybody on my team knew that I'll go to bat for them. I think that was one thing that I really said, like energy, like maybe it's energy or if it's a screen coming and you scared you're gonna get hit, I'm talking to you, letting you know that I'm there or whatever it may be. I think that's how I led. We had really good guys like Ike Agassi and Jalen Alexander, Mike Davis, who were the vocal points of like what we needed. And then, we had other guys who just came in and just, like I said, led by example. But I think it goes hand in hand. Like I think, having somebody who, has your back makes you want to play harder and play free versus, not knowing if you're going to get cracked and nobody say something or something like that. So, I think that made it easier. And then also like, having those guys who will be going to a huddle, they can lead the huddle without coach having to say something and everybody can listen and go out there and have the same common thing going out.
Yeah, I think it's a really important thing because it's not always about, leading by what you say. It's leading by example and it's having that respect and obviously that trust within your teammates because it's such an important thing with sport at any level. When we're touching on it could be, your local basketball level and obviously going into professional basketball that you have for yourself. So, yeah, I think it's something that obviously we see as Perth Wildcats fans on the court when you are on the court and everything like that. And even when you're not on the court, when we see you and all those videos and those clips from the Perth Wildcats when you're, behind the bench and you're getting excited and you're celebrating the little wins that the team has. Like it's a really, really good thing that I think a lot of people do notice and it doesn't go unnoticed is what I'm more trying to get at as well. But let's get into your professional career, mate. So You played a bit of NBA G League. Now you've played a couple of teams, a couple of years apart, essentially as well. What was that experience like? Because once again, it's a massive step up. We see
Yeah.
some really, really good basketball players that make the NBA or go have massive careers in the NBL, the Euro League, these other top leagues around the world. So another adjustment, I bet. But what was that like?
Oh, the G League was amazing. Um, it let you really get a chance to know like where you stand as far as like with the NBA caliber type of player, you know. So it was great. Like I got a chance to be around NBA vets, got a chance to be around, you know, the NBA like organizations and stuff like that. So like just the exposure to it all was great for me. It was a big learning curve. You know what I'm saying? Especially coming from a D2, you don't see a lot of those freak athletes in D2, the big massive guards, and yeah, you don't see none of that in D2. So we see really talented, skilled guys, you know, who are trying to make it big, just like any other person. But um, you don't see as much of those freak athletes. So getting a chance to deal with it firsthand, it's crazy, man. Like you can definitely tell when a guy's an NBA talent, you know. So I think that was a huge jump, a huge jump. I think that was bigger than a jump from high school to college, to be honest, because the G League is kind of cutthroat. Like if you don't play well, you get cut. If you know you don't bring something to the team, you get cut. Like, and there's no hard feelings, but you know, like my college coach used to tell me all the time, it's always another you. You know what I'm saying? So what makes you stand apart? So you know, kind of what I do now. My energy, I think, has really led me throughout my career, and you know, again, you might not see me or anything like that, but you'll hear me somewhere in the stands, whether or not it's in the stands, on the court, in the crowd, whatever it may be, you'll hear me. So I think that's a big thing that really helped me out with the G League, being able to talk and kind of work my way through what needed to happen for my career. And then I had good coaches as well, really, really good coaches that, you know, helped me and believed in me and stuff as well.
No, definitely. I think that's a really good lesson for like kids coming through. You know, it's just there's
Mhm.
always someone that, you know, may do the exact same thing that you do, but what stands you apart from them, and that's a really important thing. And it's only little things. Like it's not
Yeah.
drastic things. It's not like you've got to improve your scoring by 10 plus points. It could be something little like you're a more vocal leader or you get around your teammates a little bit more. There's little extra things, but it's such a cutthroat business, like you mentioned as well. And you would have learnt a lot. And like you said, NBA veterans and star players here and there who have had call ups
Yeah.
and come back down and everything like that. What did you think of the whole process? Because it is unlike any other professional league in the world. You know,
Yeah.
when obviously from a step down from the NBA, you know, we're comparing it to the NBLs, the Euro leagues. What did you think of the whole process? Because it is a massive business, like you spoke about.
Uh, it's hectic. Like, you know, like it really lets you see like how, I guess you could say, how disposable you are, kind of sort of. Like if you have two off games and you're gone, you know? So it's like it's really, really crazy. But you know, I got blessed with great situation. You know, I was with Grand Rapids Drive for 2 years, was able to go back and play for them. You know, got a chance to do like, you know, G League Elite Camp and Summer League and all that stuff like that preseason. Like it's a huge opportunity. If you make the most of it, anything can happen. Versus like if you go up there with the wrong mindset that you are better than, you know, everybody, or you don't want to be that good teammate or whatever it may be, you know, it'll show, you know, like it'll show. But um credit to everybody who's in the G League now. You know, the league's changed so much, especially going back my third time with the Legends,
Yep.
completely different league than when I played with Grand Rapids. So a huge like shout out to those guys who are sticking with it and, you know, being successful out there, because it's hard. It's hard living in, you know, living out of a bag and isolating yourself to go chase a dream.
No, it definitely is. And I think we'll get into the NBL time now as well. And there's a couple of parts, obviously, to your NBL journey. You've got
Hmm.
the Adelaide 36ers part, then you've got the NBL 1 experience with the Warwick Senators, and then we'll touch on, obviously, the Perth Wildcats. But the Adelaide 36ers, you played over there in NBL 21. Now, some pretty solid averages, 8.3 points per game, 3.8 rebounds. First question I want to ask is, was the NBL always something that you sort of wanted to go over and try, or was it just sort of something popped up and you thought, let's give this a bit of a go? Because the league wasn't what it is right now. You know, the league is booming. There's buzz all around the world essentially, and it's a really, really competitive league. But going back 5, 6 years ago, the name wasn't there like it is right now.
Yeah, it kind of just popped up. To be honest, like I didn't know I would end up going out there. And credit to Adelaide for when they did get me. Like they got me at a really good point in my career. Like I was hungry and able, wanting to chase whatever opportunity I could take. So I didn't know much about Australia. Um, like if anybody was to ask me about Australia, I'd just be like, that's the place with all the kangaroos or something like that. So I didn't know much about it, but um, Adelaide was great exposure to Australia for me. And I think that's why I've always wanted to come back and play in the league. Just getting a taste of how like good the league is, how good the locals are, like how the fans interact with the teams in the league. It's probably one of the funnest leagues I've been a part of.
Yeah, it's definitely building, and I've got a question a little bit later when we start talking about your perf stuff about comparing the league to back then to now. But let's get into this little part because I found this interesting, and I actually didn't know this until I did a slight little bit of research. Now, you went over to the NZNBL and played for the Otago Nuggets. Now, for people who aren't aware of what that program is, that is essentially the Perth Wildcats affiliate program in the NZNBL. We see guys all the time go over there and sort of apply their trade and work on a few things to come back the next season for the Perth Wildcats and play. Was there a connection with the Wildcats before you went over, or was this something that was just sort of organised and you went over there without sort of having any contact with the Perth Wildcats?
I just went over there without even yeah, I didn't even know anything about Perth either, other than when we played them in LA. So I went over there just because they had some open spots, and I wanted to go and play out there in New Zealand as well after trying out Australia. So um, and then they had like Brent Matahati out there, and he's hilarious. So I got a chance to be with him, got a chance to be with Keegan, and stuff like that. And even Jared came my second year, so I've got a chance to be around some really, really good people in that organization. And the fans there were amazing as well. Like I loved Dunedin. It was a great experience for me. I wanted to make New Zealand home at one point until I seen how expensive it is to live over there. But no, it was great, man. And I think the guys on the team were amazing. Like still to this day, like that was again one of like outside of like Australia and like my pro season, that was one of the funnest off seasons I've had as well.
Yeah, that's so good because it's such like it's not spoken about enough, I don't think. And like the NZNBL has got some incredible players who go over there all the time.
Absolutely.
It's a really, really high quality of basketball as well. And yeah, it's pretty cool to see. And like you said there, obviously you started to build these relationships with Perth Wildcats people, and we'll get into the NBL One West stuff right now as well. And I guess being in Perth, maybe sort of socializing with a few of the boys. You obviously played with Perth
Yeah.
Wildcat and Michael Harris as well, mate. But what a season you had in this most recent NBL One West season. 24.6 points per game, 8.3 rebounds, 3.1 assists, and 1.2 blocks. Now, statistically, what an incredible season. But what was the best part of that whole entire season for the Warwick Senators?
I'll probably say like just the group of guys, like they are hilarious.
Yeah.
And just a good group of guys. Like having Harris there as well made me a lot more relaxed. Somebody who I know knows like how I play and and what things I'm good at. So having him there was huge. And he lit the league up, So having him there was massive. Wow, being able to be with some good coaches like Jeremy Fletcher and Coops and stuff like that. Like they helped with all that as well. So like the guys on that team just go to bat for you. They'll go out there and lose a leg, lose an arm if they have to. And I think that was a big reason as to why I wanted to come back. Just how much those guys went to bat for me. I was like, oh, surely we come back for another season and try to get a championship. So.
No, definitely, mate. And it was a good season as well. Like, obviously, numbers-wise, it was incredible. But you got rewarded, I guess, with some individual accolades. And I know players, they don't like to talk about this sort of stuff. It's not about individual accolades. It's all about championships and everything as well. But we have to mention these little accolades as well, mate. You were NBL 1 West second team and all defensive team as well. Really does show the versatility in your game. And I think that's something that we've seen this most recent season in the NBL 1 when you've had your opportunity, because it's not all just been about defense. You've been able to score. You've been able to shoot from the three-point line. You've got so many avenues to your game as well. Do you think that as the years go on as a professional basketball player, that is something that's really developing in your game?
I'll say it's a work in progress. Let's say it that way. Because I still have times where, I'm very passive and, I just want to make the right play instead of being aggressive. So like finding that middle area to where I could be beneficial to the team by being aggressive and then also trying to plug holes and play defense the way I do. So it's definitely a work in progress, but it's definitely increased the older I've gotten in my career. Because, you think about it, the younger you are, the more errors you can make versus like the older you get is getting closer and closer to that time. So I think that's a big thing that players have to like understand, like make your mistakes while you're young and then polish yourself and try to do everything you can to stay steady and stay, how do I say it, consistent, like through your older years.
No, definitely. I think that's a really important piece of advice. We see it all the time, like even, let's just go something simple, like an apprenticeship or something like that. You get your first year to basically make all your mistakes. And after that, people start going, why haven't you learned from that? Why are you still making the same old mistakes? Yeah. So it's a really important thing because, like you said, you get that sort of free pass, that maybe is another way of saying it as well, where make all the mistakes and learn from them really quickly. But let's get into NBL 25, mate, and really, really exciting. All the people at home, I guess, if you're in WA, I reckon you've probably heard of you before this NBL season, and obviously had a couple of years ago at the Adelaide 36, like I mentioned before, but you've really, I guess, gained a lot of popularity this year, especially in this NBL 25 season. Now, you signed on as a nominated injury replacement player for the Perth Wildcats. Now, it's not a common thing for imports in particular to nominate as an injury replacement. So what were those conversations like, and why did you decide to sign as an injury replacement player instead of pursuing opportunities somewhere else in the world?
I think the biggest thing for me was I love Perth. Like, I love Australia. Didn't want to leave. Wanted to play in the NBL. I didn't necessarily think it would be Perth, but I wanted to play in the NBL, and Perth was that team that gave me an opportunity to do that. And I just think it showed that those guys believed in me. I came into like the trainings, and when they invited me to trainings and practice and stuff like that, I came into it with the mindset of nothing's gonna come of it. Just getting the chance to be around the group and polish my skills and get myself ready for whenever I do go anywhere else. But I think them giving me the opportunity that they have, especially not knowing I was going to play as many games as I played this year, has been a huge blessing for me. We got amazing imports already. You got Bryce Cotton, you got Dylan Windler, you got Christian Doolittle, who are all stars. So as much as I want to play and as much as I get the competitive juices flowing and stuff like that, it's been fun cheering for them as well. Cheering for the team as a whole. Like Jesse Wagstaff being there and listening to him and all his little jokes and stuff like that. So it's been great just to be around a good culture group. And then as far as the fans there, they are amazing. Hearing my name when I run out there and hearing all the people yell for me and stuff like that, it never gets, never goes unseen and never goes unheard. So kind of sends chills through your body when you hear all that stuff. So I'm just grateful that I've gotten the opportunity to be around it.
No, definitely, mate. And you spoke about sort of not knowing when you're going to play, and we sort of had a quick chat a couple of weeks ago, and we had a bit of a yarn after the game, and it was so interesting because you've played 14 games now. Your averages are 5.8 points, 2.6 rebounds, and 0.9 steals per game. So, like, it's obviously really, really challenging in that position because you don't know when you're going to play. So how
Yeah.
do you keep yourself ready and sort of fit and able to go? Because we've seen it in sporadic moments. You know, Bryce went down early on, then Doolittle had his little bit of a time, and then Doolittle and Windler have sort of been swapping in and out of the injury bug as well, and you've had your little chances here and there. So one, how do you stay ready? And then two, you know, you might play one game here and then miss a few games and play again. How do you constantly sort of have that challenging role in that sort of roster?
Um, I I'm still trying to figure it out, honestly. It's been I don't know. Like I think the biggest thing for me is like the practices really mean a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like going against those guys make you better instantly. You know, so like me guarding Dylan or me having a guard like Do or having a guard BC and having a guard like guys like Henny, Elijah Pepper, all like David, like all Keanu, like all those guys. Everybody on our team is a capable starter. So like being a part of that every single day and having that consistently, I think anybody would be ready, you know? And then for me, my biggest thing for what my opportunity and my role is for this team is just being able to, like I said, to fill the fluff, like fill the holes. Like I don't have to go out there and try to score 30 points or whatever it may be. Like I could just be that vocal guy who goes out there and plays hard as crap, you know? So um it's giving me a chance to be myself. Of course, you know, of course it's hard to keep a rhythm when you don't know, but with the time that I have gotten, I felt like I've just went out there and just tried to be me while trying to mesh with the guys and try to be what I can be to be the best teammate that I can be to them as well. So there's no like concrete answer, I guess you could say, to like how do I prepare? But I guess I can just say the practices help a lot. Like the practices help a lot.
It's such a unique role because we don't see it too often. Like especially in the NBL, I know there's nominated injury replacements, but they're always locals, just in case one of 10 guys go down, for example, instead of waiting for one of three guys. Well, not waiting because you're not wishing an injury on anyone, but you know what I mean. You're waiting
Absolutely.
for your opportunity in your role. But I guess one thing that is sort of an interesting, and you touched on your role there, and they're not sort of being essentially a blueprint to how you've got to play. You've got to go play hard. Is there a slight little adjustment though when let's just say Dylan's out or another game when Doolittle's out because they are similar players to a certain degree or play a different role for the Perth Wildcats. So is your role essentially to play the Christian Doolittle role or the Dylan Windler role when they are out, or is it more just playing Todd's game and having that fun and that sort of spark as well?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's more so to be them because they're their own individuals already. Like you can never have another dude. You'll never have another. You never have another Dylan. The way Dylan guards the ball, the way Dude guards the ball, the way Dylan shoots the ball, and the way Dude is able to get to his spots and create. You can't reenact that. But it does give me a chance to go out there and just give my own energy and get guys going. Whether or not it's me out there and I foul the heck out of somebody just to let them know that I got you, or me to just chase somebody 94 feet and try to make their life hell. That's what I got to do. I got to do it, and I embrace that. Like I love that role, and I love having a chance for guys to be able to trust me to do that as well. So it's been great. Like, and then those guys who, when they do get hurt, they still cheer for me. They could be mean or wrong and be like, oh, this guy's filling in for me, this, that, and the other. But everybody on our team, again, has the same common goal. And I think we want to win a championship. So it's been cool knowing that they trust me the same way that I trust them.
No, definitely. That's a massive thing, I guess, for, like you said, championship aspirations and the team
Yeah.
environment as well. But one thing I sort of want to ask you here, mate, and this can be on the court, it can be off the court, it can be from watching or playing, but what's been the best part of the season so far?
Um, I'll say I think the best part of the season so far has been just being around the group, we have some characters on our team. Like, they are hilarious. So just being around the group, even when I'm not playing and I'm just sitting behind the bench or sitting with the guys, like, just a constant, like, yells, cheers, jokes. Like, there's never a dull moment for the team. Even when we're upset, somebody finds a way to make everybody laugh. Having guys like Ty and Dante and Hiram, they're just characters. So having those guys there just automatically lighten the mood. So I think that's like the best part. Even the coaches get in it. Like JR, Jared, like all the coaches, they all get into it as well, as far as like the banter and like the laughing and the joking and stuff like that. Because I mean, they treat us like we're pros. So at the end of the day, outside of what happens on the court or what happens at home, when we all come together, it's still like it's fun. So I think that's the biggest thing. I thought it was going to be a bit more strict and like set in stone and all that stuff, but we have a really good group and they are hilarious.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I've heard some stories here and there. We interviewed Elijah at the start of the season, and I could just see straight away that even he was going to be a character. And then I spoke to Mark a couple of weeks later, and I said, "Oh, how's Elijah going?" He goes, "He doesn't shut up, man. He's just non-stop, and he's just so excitable and everything as well." And then obviously we've all seen Ty. We've seen 101 videos on social media with all the facial expressions and all the stuff that he does. He is just a swaggy little guy as well. I don't know if that word's even in anymore, but that is what sums up Ty Webster, mate. But I guess I want to touch on sort of a Wildcats whole thing right now as well. And I want to get your opinion on this. Now, you guys have had 2 disappointing losses in the last 2 games to Melbourne United and obviously the Cairns Taipans. Now, as a older group with a lot of experienced guys, what is the team morale like right now with 3 games to go before the playoffs and really trying to lock in a really good seed for the playoffs?
I think BC and WAG said it the best. We control our own destiny. We could go 0-3 these next 3 games and make it really, really hard on ourselves, or we can win out the next 3 games and control our destiny and what we need to do to try to win a championship. I think everybody knows that. Like, our practices have been just as heated as they normally would be. No one likes losing. So, and they tally things in practice to where like it's wins and losses. So no one likes losing. So I think the morale is good. I think, we've let a few slip through. And, again, a lot of that could be injuries. It can be whatever, everybody having off days, whatever it may be. But I think everybody does have the same mindset. And I think we'll do what we need to do to get it done.
No, definitely. I think that's one thing that has been a Wildcats staple over many, many years now, and it's been a really important thing for the Wildcats. And I guess that's obviously why having guys like Jesse and Bryce who have been entrenched in this organisation for such a long period of time is really, really important. Now, speaking of the organisation and yourself, I've got 2 more questions here, mate. Now, the first one is, and I think it's been a little bit of a question between fans of the Perth Wildcats, and I'm a big believer of it. Is there any contract talk with yourself for potentially next year, whether it's a full roster spot, an injury replacement sort of player role it is? Is all that conversation flowing at all with yourself and Danny?
I think it's something to be talked about after the season. And the only reason I say that is because we really want to focus on what's going on right now. And I feel like it'd be wrong if we start talking about contracts and stuff like that, especially with what I'm doing for the team right now. So now I can come into this organization with the mindset of something for next year. Now it'd be great to come back and it'd be great to play for the Wildcats and stuff like that, or just to have an opportunity in the NBL period. But my mindset was just to come in and get better, be a part of a team, be a part of a culture that could help me, wherever I may go. So yeah, I guess we'll kind of have to wait and see. Now, I would love to come back though.
No, definitely. I think we'll be definitely waiting and seeing. I think a lot of people are eager to see if you do sign on as well. Now, my last question here, mate, and I've really, really appreciated your time, but Perth, you've obviously loved the city, and you're here now. You're signed back on for NBL 1 West with the Warwick Senators that we spoke about earlier. What do you love about Perth, and what are some of your favourite things to do in Perth? Because it's it's a bit of an adjustment, I'd imagine, from America. I've spent a small amount of time in America and I absolutely loved it, but there are some well and truly different cultures between the two of them. So what's been some of the favorite things to do in Perth?
Um, Honestly, I don't do much if I'm gonna be honest. I'm not a big beach guy, so and this heat is ridiculous. But I guess I can say like some of the things that I've really come like I guess to enjoy, like some of the different food spots, like that's different. You know, in America you have every fast food restaurant you can think of around each corner, versus going and actually sitting down at restaurants and eating. Um, and then like also like the community stuff, like having a chance to do some of the stuff that I love to do, like coaching and just being around like the community. I think that's been huge. I really love that about Perth, like having a chance to be over at work and have that community and that bond with those kids and the parents and just the organization as a whole. It's been great for me. And then now that I'm with the Wildcats and you see people like I go walk through carrying up ball or something like that, and they like, oh, it's Withers, and it's a lot of it. Most guys will be like, oh, like that's nothing, but it means a lot to me because to me it means that they look up to me, and I'm like somebody who could help change them for the better. So I take that with like a heavy heart. So when I get back to community, I just get back to hopefully change one kid's life or try to make them better at something that they want to achieve. So that's what happened with me. If the people didn't reach me the way that they did, then I probably could have ended up doing anything. But they reached me the way that they did, and now look at me now. So I think that's my biggest thing. I want to get back to community, and no matter where I am, and hopefully keep building that bond with everybody.
Yeah, no, 100%, mate. And I think obviously one last thing before we do head off, you coached some young fellas as well down at the Warwick Senators tonight. Do you want to give them a bit of a shout out? I'm sure they'll absolutely love that as well. And yeah, what sort of age group, where they're playing, and what were you sort of up to as well?
Right now, my team is well, it's not my team. I coach, assistant coach, I guess you could say. His name's Ian Rowe. He's like I call him my Australian father. He was my sponsor over at work. He's really come on to be like a huge like impact in my life. He has his little domestic team called the Heat, and I've been coaching them and training them, and it's been amazing. Like they play hard. We lost the game today actually by 1 point, but they play hard. They do everything they can to listen. The parents are really behind it. And stuff like that. And then, I don't think people understand how much a support system means. So, I think if anybody has a support system, they have the chance of being successful. So, big shout out to the Heat.
Yeah, massive shout outs to the Heat. I thought we'd throw that one in there before we went off, mate, because I absolutely love that. I'm sure of that, mate. But
yeah,
Todd, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, mate. I've really, really enjoyed today's chat, and I really appreciate your time. Like I mentioned at the start of the episode, I know your guys' schedules and it's just hectic. So I know there's travel and everything coming up and everything like that. But to have a 45-minute discussion with you, mate, I've really, really enjoyed it. And I've just enjoyed the insight into learning a bit more about Todd Withers, because we see you on the court, we see you on social media clips, but we don't really get to hear much from you. And I know that's sort of out of your comfort zone as well. And I really, really appreciate you coming on here and having a bit of a chat, mate. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season goes on and looking forward to catching up soon.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate you giving me a chance to tell my story and, speak a bit about myself.
No, always, mate. And I'll be looking forward to potentially having you on in the NBL 1 season as well with the Warwick Senators, and hopefully hitting up full time, I think, mate, in a Perth Wildcats uniform with the next big step as well.
Love that.
Thanks, mate.